How many of you here was in my previous session over there on Jesus? So I'm going to repeat this. One of the greatest claims, the boldest claims to deity is John 14:6. When Jesus said, I am the truth. Do you know, in 54 years, I've only had 2 pastors ever tell me what that means. If I come out in this audience right here, what did it mean when Jesus said, I am the truth? What does it mean? Maybe one of you at the most could answer it. And yet we appeal to it all the time. What does it mean when he said, I am the truth? Now, to know that, you have to define truth. How do you define truth? 98% of people in the world, including professors, can't define truth. How do you define truth? Well, Webster's Collegiate Dictionary defines it, that which has fidelity to the original. I went, wow, what does that mean? You know you're in trouble when you need a definition for a definition. So, you have to define, if truth is that which has fidelity to the original, you have to define fidelity. If this was a high school session, I threw it open for a question. Almost always the first question is, Dr. McDowell, how do you define fidelity? Amazing. 95% of people can't define 95% of the words they use. And they're losing out on so much in life. I've never heard anyone in a random interview ever define purity. One of the most incredible concepts in the Bible. One of the easiest ways to raise children. And I've never, in 54 years, found somebody who could define purity. It's been probably 8 years since I found somebody who could define love. How do you define fidelity? Fidelity I would define as the same as or equal to. What do you mean by that? The same as or equal to. I got a copy of the New Evidence Demands a Verdict here. Let's say I had a copy of Right from Wrong. I couldn't say this book has fidelity to this book. Why? It's not the same as or equal to. They're 2 totally different books, different content, different size, everything. But if I had another copy of the New Evidence here, then I could say this book has fidelity to this book. Why? It's the same as equal to. So let's put that within the definition. Truth is that which is the same as or equal to the original. Now you've got to define original. How do you define original? Because we're short on time, let me give you a word picture. Let's say I have a container of water here. I make this statement, I have a liter of water. And this lady down here in the second chair with that nice long looking hair says, no you don't. I said, I do too. No you don't. Now is my statement true and hers false? Or is her statement true and mine false? What we would do, now truth is that which is the same as equal to the original. Are you married? No, bring your boyfriend, I'll bring my wife. We'll get 3 rooms and we'll fly to Paris, France. And before we party, we'll go to the far out suburb where there's the International Bureau of Weights and Measures. There they have all the original metric measurements for the entire world. So, truth is that which is the same as or equal to the original. So I would take my liter of water, and we'd take the original. If my container was the same as, equal to, or had fidelity to the original, then my statement was true and yours was false. But if you drank some of mine, and you probably would, being single, then my statement was right, because it wouldn't have been fidelity to the original. So your statement would have been true, and mine would have been false. Truth is that which has fidelity to the original. Now let's put that into Jesus' statement. Jesus said, I am the truth. I am the same as, equal to the original. Who's the original? Boy, Canadians are reserved.
God.
Here that can say God? No, God Yahweh, God the Father. Do you realize what Jesus said? I am the truth. I am the same as, equal to Yahweh. Whenever the first time you read, probably didn't study, but read John 14. Didn't it disturb you a little? If you were I was a non-Christian, I got upset. I would read what Jesus was saying. I said, oh, he has to be the most arrogant person that ever lived. Or he is the truth. Didn't it ever cause you to question things when he said, do not let your heart be troubled. He who believes in God believes in me. Look, you tell me you totally understood that when that first time you read it. How can he say that unless he is the truth? The same as equal to the original. He's saying, well, if you believe in God, you believe in me. Why? Because I am the truth. I am the same as equal to Yahweh. In John 14:7, they said, well, we want to know the Father. Jesus said, if you'd known me, you would have known the Father. How can he say that? How arrogant. Unless he is the truth. Are you with me? When it said, for now you know him and you have seen him because you know me and have seen me. I am the truth. We want to see the Father. Jesus said, he who has seen me has seen the Father. Can you imagine standing in front of a Jewish audience and saying that? That's blasphemy. That's deserving death. The word you hear is not mine, but the Father who sent me. He who sees me sees the one who sent me. You will know the truth, me, and I will set you free. Why? Because I'm the same as equal to Yahweh. Whoa. Now this led, you ready with the other one? This led to a tremendous conflict in my life. I knew as a non-believer, Jesus claimed to be God. Sure didn't mean he was God. You realize, don't you? Just because he claimed to be God doesn't mean he was God. It means he claimed to be God. Jesus claimed to be God. And this caused a real trilemma in my life.
Literally, Jesus was a physical being with eyes that blinked, hair that grew, and a heart that beat. Even though on the outside he looked like you and me, he claimed to be something different on the inside. He constantly claimed he was God. For the Jewish Supreme Court, Jesus was asked, are you the Christ, the Son of God? And he unequivocally answered, I am. So the question is, were his claims true? If they were false and he knew they were false, this would make him a liar. If Jesus made a deliberate misrepresentation of who he was, then he lied to his followers, even though he exhorted them to tell nothing but the truth. This would make him both a liar and a hypocrite, and in the end, well, a fool. For he died on a cross to uphold the claim that he was God. What if he claimed that he was God and didn't know he was lying? That would make him a lunatic, or in today's terminology, psychotic. If he were a lunatic, that would make him delusional. A man in the desert waltzing about claiming something as ridiculous as claiming to be Napoleon. The way Jesus lived, the way he taught, most of all the way he died and rose from the grave clearly demonstrates he is neither liar nor lunatic, but exactly who he says he is, Lord. We're only left with one alternative. That Jesus claimed to be God was true. That God lived among us and sparked a tsunami of human devotion that lives on to this very day. Now, the question is, who do you say that I am?
I had a problem. I could not call him a liar. I was smart enough to know if he was a liar, then a lie has accomplished more good than the truth ever has. I could not call him psychotic or a lunatic. If he was psychotic, what about the rest of us? Then it would be people on other planets would use the earth as a lunatic asylum. But I refused to call him or acknowledge him as Lord and God. My problem was I couldn't sleep. I didn't know any other alternative. I was in a Jewish seminary, a conservative seminary, speaking for 3 days. And when I talked about Jesus, I used this argument. I wish I'd had the video then. Aren't those things incredible? It takes 3 months just to get the script done. The exact words, and then the exact graphics, the music, everything to communicate the same message that would take you 25, 30 minutes to do. I think it's where it's going, especially with the digital age. But they're expensive. Ooh. I mean, come on, it takes you about 6 months to develop one. And that's a lot of payroll. But it's worth it. And this graduate student at the Jewish seminary spoke and said, I don't agree with you. I don't believe he was a liar. I don't believe he was a lunatic, and he's not Lord and God. And I said, who is he? He said, I don't know. But he's not a liar, he's not a lunatic, and he's not Lord and God. I said, mister, you can go to bed and sleep with that at night. That was my predicament. So the next step for me, is there any evidence to show it? Is there any? Is there something I get my hands on that would say, yes, what he claimed of himself is true? I found one thing, the first thing, and then went into 3 major things. I want to share it with you by video. The first argument that, I tried to refute it, I tried my best, I did everything, because Jesus was not a part of my future. I had everything for every 6 months for 50 years planned out in my life, and Jesus was not going to interfere with my life. But I had to struggle with this. Wish we could turn the lights off, we could really have the crispiness.
God spent centuries making sure that humanity would know that Jesus was not merely a man, but was the Messiah. One of the ways he did this was by fulfilling the prophecies recorded in Scripture. Jesus said to his followers, everything must be fulfilled that is written about me. Jesus appealed to all the Old Testament messianic prophecies that would be fulfilled in him. The same way a mailing address separates you from 7 billion other people on the planet, God gave the Messiah's address in the form of prophecies. Hundreds of details that would clearly spell out how to identify the man who was the true Messiah. His life appears to 333 prophecies in the Old Testament. Many of these prophecies apply to the family line in which he would be born. In Genesis, it says Jesus would come from the seed of a woman, even though everyone else in the Bible is said to come from the seed of a man, noting the virgin birth. The Messiah would come from the line of Shem, one of Noah's 3 sons, knocking up 2/3 of humanity. It was foretold he would be a descendant of Abraham, in the line of Isaac, in the line of Jacob, cuts in half. Tribe of Judah eliminates 11/12 of the family. The family of Jesse narrows it down further. In the house of David, one of 8 sons. His life fulfilled all his prophecies, and his death fulfilled many more. In 10:12 BC, it was written he would be pierced against a tree, crucified, a form of execution that would be practiced by Romans for another 800 years, betrayed by a friend for 30 pieces of silver, that would be thrown on the floor in temple and used to buy burial plot. The time period was defined to be before Temple of Jerusalem fell, which took place in 70 AD, and it hasn't been rebuilt since. Those are 17 of 333 prophecies. Now, let's just take 8 of them. The chances of just 8 being fulfilled by one person are 1 in 10, with 17 more zeros after it. Let's visualize that. Cover the entire state of Texas with silver dollars, 2 feet deep, and toss in 1 silver dollar marked with an S and mix it all up with tractors. The chance of a person wading through them all, blindfolded and randomly reaching down to pick up 1 marked coin. That is the probability that just 8 of these will be fulfilled by any one person, 8 of 333. Jesus alone proved correct the hundreds of Old Testament prophecies that described his coming. And he alone can fulfill the greatest prophecy of all. For those who will accept it, I will give you a new heart, and I will put a new spirit within you.
I didn't want to believe this.